Welcome to another class of JavaScript for web application. In this class, I'm going to be showing you how you'll be able to create a Notes app with local storage just by using JavaScript. Well, we're going to be following a couple of steps. Just like my previous class, we're also going to be using three separate sections or three separate files. The index.html, which is going to structure the web application, style.css, the style, the UI, and script.js for the JavaScript for functionality. Now, make sure not to skip any part of this class because it's going to be very important for you and it's going to be helping you also in the long run. So, without any further ado, let's hop into our class by opening up Visual Studio Code on our device. And you don't have to worry about it, or let's say worry about the resources, because I'm going to be attaching all of the folders, or let's say all of the programmings with my resource file in this course. So let's open up VS Code without any further ado. As you can see from my screen, I have opened up VS Code. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create another new folder. Now the name of the folder is going to be Notes Web App. Hit on enter, and there we go. I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to click on new file, which is going to be index.html. There we go. I'm going to create more files, new file. I'm going to put in style.css. And the last one that I'm going to create over here is going to be the script.js. There we go. Similar to the other ones, we have three separate files. So we're going to start off with the index.html. Now, one thing is that what will there be in the index.html? The index.html structure will contain the text area for writing notes, a button to save the notes, and a section to display the saved notes. So first things first, obviously, doc type. So here, after doc type, what you want to do is you have to put in the HTML. Put in HTML. Okay, there we go. Now, in the same way, inside of HTML, I'm going to have a title first. The title of this application is going to be, let's say, Notes App. Notes App. Open up the tag, and I'm going to put in link, rel, then equal to, let's say, double quotation and style sheet. Style sheet. After that, href equal double quotation, and then you have to define the style.css, which is going to be inside of this folder, not the other folder. You have to keep that thing in mind, and that is the exact reason we're going to be putting it inside of a folder. If you put this thing like in the open or maybe in the simple calc, there's going to be two scripts, right? Or two style. So that is the reason it might be jumbling up where it should take the functions and where it should take the styles from. Okay, so we are done with this HTML. Now, this HTML or this title and link should be inside of a head. So I'm going to define the head. I'm going to copy or cut this and paste it at the end. There we go. Now, after the head, I'm going to have a body tag. Inside this body, I'm going to apply a div tag. Div with specific class equal double quotation and then put in container, where you're going to put in the text. Now, after the div, I'm going to have an h1 tag so that there is a big text. It's going to say Notes App inside of this whole page. Now here, I'm going to create a text area. So the text area is going to have a specific ID, which is going to be equal to note input. Okay, this is how you want to put it. And then you're going to apply a placeholder. Now inside the placeholder, I'm going to put in write your text here. Okay, you can put in a couple of dots if you want to. You can also keep it empty if you want to. Then you're going to close off the tag, and then you're going to keep it empty, because obviously the text is going to be applied by the client. Okay, then you're going to create a button. So the button is also going to have a specific ID, and the button should say save note. Okay, now save note, close it off, and then put in save note. Okay, now after this, close it off and then put in the div tag. Div ID is going to be equal, and then I'm going to put in note container. Okay, close off the tag. Now here we have the div tag closing over here too. Now you can see that the whole div tag is or has been closed. Now after this div tag and before this ending body tag, you have to apply the script. Script, you can see over here, script, we're going to apply the source is equal, double quotation, I'm going to put in script.js. Okay, now after this, you want to just close off the tag and then you're good to go. Then you want to save up the file, and then we're going to move into the style sheet, or let's say the CSS programming. The CSS will make the UI look clean and also organized at the same time. So in the same way, we're going to start off with the body. So inside the body, I'm going to have the font family. Okay, the font family is going to be Arial, comma, and then sans serif. Okay, that is exactly what you want to put in, and then move on to the next line. I'm going to put in display and define it as flex. Then I'm going to have a justify content, which is going to be at the center. In the next line, I'm going to align the items. Align items is also at the center. After align items, I'm going to have a specific height, which is going to be 101. I'm going to put in VH. Okay, so after this height is VH, I'm going to have a background color. In the same way, I'm going to have F4, F4, F4. Okay, which is going to make it white. Move on to the next line. I'm going to apply the container. Okay, open up the tag. I'm going to apply the background, which is going to be just background, not background color. I'm going to define this as white. Here, I'm going to define a bit of padding. 21 px should be totally fine. I'm going to apply a border. Let's say I'm going to apply border radius. Okay, and the radius that I want to use inside is going to be, let's say, somewhere around 9px. That should be totally perfect. Then I'm going to apply a box shadow, and the shadow is going to be similar to the ones which we've used previously. 0. Then I'm just going to put in 0 space 0 and then put in 11px. Okay, I'm going to put in RGBA, open up the parentheses, 0, comma, put in space 0, comma, space 0, comma, and then put in 0.1. Okay, now after the box shadow, I'm going to put in the width. Now the width is obviously going to be, let's say, somewhere around 301 pixels. Okay, that is exactly what I want to put in, and close off the parentheses at the end. Now the next thing that I want to create is the text area. So I'm going to put in text area, space up, and there we go. I'm going to start off with the width of that, just going to be 101%. Then we're going to apply the height, which is going to be somewhere around also 101px. 101px. Then after that, I'm going to apply the padding, which is going to be 11px. And the last one is going to be the margin bottom. Okay, margin bottom. Now the bottom one should have also like 11px space. Now after the text area, I'm going to start off with the button. So the button is obviously going to have a bit of space. Now here in this button, I'm going to start off with the width. Now the width is going to also be 101%. Then I'm going to apply a bit of padding to it, and the padding should have 11px of space. Then I'm going to apply the background color. Now you can also put in just the background if you want to. It's also totally fine. Now, as we have this background over here, I'm going to have a specific color, which is going to be 28A. Okay, 28A 745. There we go. Now we have green. Then I'm going to apply a bit of color. Okay, and the color that I want to use is obviously going to be white. Now, after that, I'm going to apply a border, and the border should be none in that case. For the next one, I'm going to have a cursor, which is going to work as a pointer. In the same way, I'm going to have a button, put in colon, and then type in hover. Open up the third bracket. I'm going to apply the background. As you can see over here, I'm going to also have a specific color, which is going to be 2188 and then 38. 2188 38. Okay, there you can see it is also quite similar but a bit darker than the green. Now, after this button hover, I'm going to have the dot note, which is basically going to define the notes. So dot note, third bracket, and then define it. I'm going to put in the background, and the background color is going to be hash triple F, and then put in 3CD. There we go. It's going to work as almost white. Then I'm going to apply a bit of padding to it. So the padding that I want to apply to it is going to be 11px. Then after the padding, I want to apply a margin top. There we go. The margin top should also have 11px, which is going to be basically same on all sizes. And then I'm going to apply the display, which is going to be flex, obviously. After the display, I'm going to apply justify content. In the justify content, I'm going to apply space between. There we go. And after the justify content, I'm going to apply align items, which is going to be center. Now, after that, you should have a delete button. So I'm going to put in delete btn. Open up the third bracket. Here, I'm going to have the background over here as red. Then the next one should have a specific color. There we go. And the color that I want to use is white. Then the border that I want to use over here is going to be none. On the next one, I'm going to have a bit of padding over here. It's going to be 6px. And the last one is going to be the cursor, which is going to work as a pointer. So we're also done with styling up my HTML, or let's say the CSS file. We want to save this file up to, and then we're going to move on to the logic of JavaScript, which is going to be also quite simple for this class. Okay, so first things first, we're going to move on step by step, so make sure not to skip any part. So the first step that we want to do is we want to select the elements. So start typing in const, and here I'm going to put in note input. Okay, so note input is going to be equal to document get element by ID. Document dot get element by ID. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure to copy the same thing on the next lines. Okay, but we're not going to have the input on all of these. For the next line, I'm going to have save note button. Save note button. In the same way, on the next line, I'm going to have the notes container. Notes container. Okay. Now, after this get element by ID, open up the parentheses, double quotation. I'm going to put in notes input. In the same way, open up the parentheses, double quotation. Here, I'm going to have save note. Now, make sure to obviously put in the semicolon after each of these lines. Open up the parentheses, double quotation. I'm going to put in notes container. Okay, so this is how you want it to be. Semicolon, and then you're good to go. In the next step, we're going to load the notes from local storage on page load. So for that, you want to put in document.add event listener. open up the parentheses, and then you need the DOM. So I'm going to put in DOM content loaded. Okay. After this quotation, put in a comma and then put in display notes. Okay. Then put in a semicolon and move into the next line. Now, to save the node, we're going to create a couple of sections. Start off with save note button. Then put in .add event listener, open up the parentheses, double quotation, and define in click. After this quotation, put in a comma and define in the function. After the function, you can see over here, what you want to do is you want to make sure to keep a bit of space in between. Okay, so put in a bit of space, put in that brackets, and after that, you want to put in the third brackets and make sure to create a line. Inside this line, you're going to start off with let note, and after that, you want to put in text. Now, after that, what you want to do is put in equal and then define in note input dot value dot trim. There you go. After that, open up the parentheses and then put in a semicolon at the end. Now, after that, you want to put in the if, open parentheses, and then define in note text. And after that, you have to put in triple equal. Okay, triple equal, double quotation, keep it empty, close off the parentheses, and then define in return. Okay, semicolon, and then you're good to go. Okay, now after this closes off, you want to create a bit of space over here, and you have to put in let notes is equal JSON dot parse. After parse, open up the parentheses, then define in local storage. There we go, local storage, and then put in get item. And after get item, open up the parentheses, double quotation, define in the notes. Now, in the same way like we did in my previous classes, put in two of these lines and then close off these secondary brackets and put in a semicolon at the end. Here, you want to have the push button. So here, notes, push, and then open up the parentheses and then define in note text. Okay, which is going to validate the text inside of this area. Now, after that, you're going to define the local storage. There we go, local storage. Define in set item, open up the parentheses, double quotation, put in notes. And after that, you want to put in a comma and then put in JSON stringify. So dot stringify, and then you're good to go. After that, you just define in the notes over here. Okay, double quotation over here, or let's say double parentheses, and put in the semicolon at the end. Now, after this, put in a bit of space and put in note input dot value. Just put in dot value is going to be equal, put in a bit of space, double quotation, and keep it empty. Move into the next line, and I'm going to display the notes. Display notes, open and close parentheses, put in a semicolon, and that is basically it. Put in another semicolon at the end. Now for the next one, I'm going to display the notes. So to display the notes, it is also going to work quite the same way, but we're going to use a function for this. So start off with the function, and then put in display notes, open and close off the parentheses, then put in the third bracket. Go off to the next line. I'm going to have notes container. Now after container, put in dot inner HTML. Put in equal, and then put in double quotation. Put in a semicolon, move into the next line. Put in let notes equal JSON, and then put in dot parse. Okay, after parse, open up the parentheses, put in the local storage. Put in dot get item, and then what you want to do is obviously inside the parentheses, define in notes. Okay, after that, you want to define in two of these lines again, and then put in the secondary brackets, and then put in a semicolon. Now, make sure to keep a bit of space. I'm going to put in notes, then dot for each. make sure to keep it capital for this one. Open up two parentheses, put in note, comma, index. Okay, now after that, put in equal, an arrow function, and then put in the third bracket. Then start off with the let note div. Okay, equal document, and after that, put in dot, then put in create element. There we go. We have create element. Now after this create element, open up the parentheses and define the double quotation with the div function or the div tag. Semicolon at the end and move into the next one. Then put in note div. Okay, so we have note div right over here, and then put in the class list dot class list. Then put in dot and then put in at. Open the parentheses, double quotation, define the note inside. Semicolon, move into the next line. Now put in note div and then put in dot inner HTML. Now after that, put in an equal and then put in the console function. Okay, now we're going to create a bit of space. Now start off with the tag, which is going to be P, which is the paragraph tag. I'm going to make sure to keep it at the end so it just works a bit better. Now after P, you need the dollar function, which is going to work with the note. So define in the note inside and then close off the paragraph tag. That is how it is. Okay. Now on the next line, what you want to do is you have to create the button. Button class is going to be equal, double quotation, delete btn, or you can put in button if you want to, but I just prefer using btn. Double quotation to close it off. Then put in the onClick function, onClick equal, double quotation, delete, note, double quotation, open up the parentheses with the dollar function again. Then after dollar, open up the third brackets, put in the index. After that, it should close off the parentheses or the quotation. Now close off the tag, define what it should appear up, open it up, and then type in button again. So that is it. Then put in the semicolon at the end to close this off. Move into the next line, and then you have to define the notes container. Notes container, you can see over here, dot append child. Okay, as this is a child tag, and then open up the note div. So that is basically it. Semicolon at the end, and then you're good to go. Now, one thing you can see over here is that we did not close a tag. So we want to close off a tag over here, as you can see over here. So this is basically how it should basically work. Okay. And after that, we have to make sure to check it out where that exact one is. We're just going to check out this one where we have notes for each. Now, one thing that we can see over here that we close this off right over here. So what we want to do over here is that we want to close this off. So this one closes at the end. Semicolon over here, and then you're basically good to go. Okay. So after this, you might see another third bracket closing off. You don't have to put in semicolon on this one. Now we're going to create the last function, which is going to function or put the logic of the delete node. So start off with the function again. Now function, put in delete, which is going to be the delete note. So put in the delete note, open up the parentheses and define in the index. Open up the third bracket. I'm going to put in let notes, put in equal JSON dot parse. Parse, open up the brackets, put in local storage, and then put in dot get element by ID. You can see over here, get element by ID. But if you want to make sure to keep it more simple, just put in get item. Okay, open up the parentheses, double quotation, define in the notes. In the same way, put in these lines, secondary brackets, and put in a semicolon at the end. In the next one, put in notes dot splice. Okay, splice, open parentheses, put in index, comma, and then define in 1. semicolon at the end, and then put in the local storage. Local storage dot set item, and then open up the parentheses, double quotation, and define in notes. Okay. After that, put in a comma. I'm going to put in JSON dot stringify. Okay. Now after that, open up the parentheses and define in notes. In the same way, put in a semicolon at the end and then display the notes, open up the parentheses and then semicolon at the end. In the same way, we're just basically going to save all of our files. And that is how simple it is. Now, as we're done with all of these, we want to just go off into index. We want to save up all of these files. And if you try running this, you might see code language not supported and defined. It's totally fine. So one thing that you want to do is just close off this port, dispose the previous one, and then click on go live. If you click on go live, you can see that it will open up. And there we go. We have the Notes app. Now, first thing is that make sure you always open the index.html in a browser. Now you can try writing a note and click on save note. So first things first, I'm going to put in, this is the first note of this web app. If you click on now save note, the note will be saved and also displayed at the bottom. You can see this is the first note of this web app. Now, if you want to refresh the page, it is also totally fine. If you refresh it, now you can see this one is still over here. If you go off into VS Code, and if you just go off into terminal, new terminal over here, you can see we have the debug, we have the output, all of these over here. Now you can also try running all of these things right over here, but it's just way better if you just run them on your browser. Okay, so you can dispose them again. You can go on live again. Okay, it will just take a bit of time. And there we go. We have the Notes app. So I'm going to open up the Notes app and there we go. This has been saved in my local storage. Okay, no matter wherever you save it, or no matter if you refresh the site, it will still be there. Now, another thing is that we have the delete button, right? You can also delete the function, or let's say delete this note. If you click on delete, it will be removed. Okay, so if you just type in more, let's say first, save note, put in second, save note, let's say third, save note. There we go. We have all of these. Even if we refresh the site, it will still be there. Okay, even if you close off the browser, dispose this server, and still open it up again, it will still be saved. So that means that your local storage is also working alongside your web application. So thank you for watching this video up till the very end, and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of this lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. I'm always there to help you out. So without any further ado, let's move on to our next class of JavaScript for Web Application course.